Three guys who could score from anywhere. The most skilled at their size you could ever ask. History of basketball. Who's at their size more skilled than any one of those three guys? The Lakers had no shot. If everyone was healthy this year, it would have been Nets and Lakers. The Lakers would have been thrashed by these Nets. Now they got three dudes. Russell Westbrook's one of them dudes. And let me say something. People are going to get caught up on how it all fits together. That is not the issue here. The issue is bring in the talent. Do they need shooting? Yes. None of these guys are shooters, especially not Westbrook for his position. But can you find shooters? You think guys won't play on the vet minimum for this team? Of course they will. Whether they wind up with Kevin Love or they figure out a sign and trade with three-team deal, they still have Schroder, Talen Horton-Tucker. Those guys aren't great fits. Could they still swing something for Buddy Hield? Who knows? They'll be just fine. And one more thing about Russell Westbrook. Every single year, 3-4 years now, he's on a new team with new teammates. First half of the season, we're all like, Westbrook's finished. He's no good anymore. Because he's trying to figure things out because contrary to popular belief among some, he is a team player. He's trying to figure out how to help the team. Second half, he's figured it out. He's learned his teammates. He knows his role. And then in the second half of every year, we go, he's having an MVP caliber second half. I expect the same thing to happen this year. Stephen A., if the Lakers are healthy, this is a real series if the Nets are healthy. It wouldn't have been before. It is now.
Well, that's really stepping out on the limb. It's a real series. Really? That's all you got? Because let me tell you something. That's obvious, Max Kellerman. There's no question that it's going to be a series if they were to meet. There's no question that it's a formidable big three, and the Lakers deserve a boatload of credit. Rob Pelinka, way to go in terms of assembling this and pulling this trade off, which obviously has happened. And I think Russell Westbrook is worth it. We all know he's a superstar. We all know he's a surefire first ballot Hall of Famer. We know at the age of 32 going on 33, he's still electrifying. He's still the most athletic point guard in the history of the National Basketball Association. And the fact that you got him with LeBron James and Anthony Davis, Lord have mercy. It almost makes it to a point where it might be, we might all need to be medicated for depression if we don't get this finals. Brooklyn versus Los Angeles next season.
I think it's going to happen.
If you really do.
I really do. This year was odd.
But even injuries would disappoint it because we're all salivating for it now more than ever, okay? But this has to be said, and I got to be, let me make sure I'm very careful. Because I suspect the Westbrook family might be watching. Let me make sure I'm very clear with what I'm trying to say. There will never, or there will never have been more pressure on Russell Westbrook for this upcoming season. This is the most pressure that he has been through in his career. Now, to be fair to him, he doesn't give a damn. Russell Westbrook don't care about much. He a rough rider. He's pig-headed. He's strong-willed. Whatever word, phrase you want to think is appropriate. He don't give a damn. But from the outside world looking at him, more than ever before, his resume is going to come into play. The triple-doubles. Remember when I was controversial, Max and Molly, because I was talking about I didn't care about a 35, 21, and 14 performance. People misconstrued. I'm hating on Westbrook. No. I'm saying that Russell Westbrook is so phenomenal. Russell Westbrook is such a talent that we don't want to see you going home in the first round. We know you could do that. The point is we already done. Think about it, Max. When did we ever think we'd get to a point where the triple-double didn't matter to us? It doesn't when it comes to him because it's ordinary. It's what he does. He's a walking triple-double. We got that part, okay? Now it's about my brother, Kevin Durant left. And 4 times in 5 years, you went home in the first round. 5 times you've been home. Once you went to Houston and you lost in the second round your lone year there. These are your teammates. I'm going to remind everybody again. Kevin Durant, Serge Ibaka, Reggie Jackson, Victor Oladipo, Paul George, James Harden again, Bradley Beal, and now LeBron James. And that talent that is Russell Westbrook, surefire, first ballot, undeniable Hall of Famer, By the way, box office, you walk through the turnstiles to see a brother like that.
Yeah.
You walk through the turnstiles to see a Russell Westbrook.
Everything he has every night.
Russell Westbrook's got over $200 million and nobody blinked because we know he deserves it. We know he deserves it because he gives it to you every day. He never cheats the game with his effort. But at some point in time, we're going to be like, where's the chip? And this is where it gets real dicey for him. Because you were with Kevin Durant, and you were taking shots people felt Kevin Durant should have been taking. Then you had your time, and you became Mr. Triple-Double. Then you had Harden, who's your boy. And Harden and you ended up not wanting to play together. You go with Bradley Beal, who's one of the top 2 leading scorers in the league, him and Steph Curry last season, okay? And you with Bradley Beal. Of course, you got to the first round, but at the time that everybody was upset with what I said. They were 13 games under 500 in the Eastern Conference. So now you've overcome. Now, all of that's aside. You wanted out of D.C. They gave it to you, and they put you in your hometown. This is a UCLA product. This is L.A. This is an L.A. dude. Any kind of hype, any kind of energy, any kind of fervor that we have seen from Russell Westbrook is expected to elevate even more significantly. So when you look at all of those things, and the fact that if LeBron James alone was your teammate, they would have expectations. But now you got LeBron and Anthony Davis. There has never been, ever, in the career of Russell Westbrook where the eye of the storm will be on him, because we're all going to be looking to see how he messes, how he ingratiates himself within their system, playing with LeBron and AD. And I believe they go into the finals. I believe that if they were healthy anyway, but God, just stop the presses. But the point is this. LeBron already has a chip in an LA uniform. And we expected them to be back this year if they were not for the injuries. If Russell Westbrook comes there and they're healthy and they don't find a way to get it done, I mean, listen, you're gonna recognize Russell Westbrook's individual greatness. But there's going to be a lot of questions about team. Remember, he wants to play his way. In Houston, he wanted to play his way. He told Houston that. I want to play
my way. It worked when they did.
Would you guys take the Lakers right now?
I'm talking about to depart Houston. He was telling them, I want to play my way. I don't want to play Harden's way. I don't want to be his side. I want to do what I do. When he arrived in Houston and Mike D'Antoni was coaching, I'm just going to do what I do. Russell Westbrook is known as a guy who says, I'm going to do it my way.
Two things. One, LeBron is the one player in the league who might have the gravitas to bring Russell Westbrook, the gravity to bring Russell Westbrook into the fold. That wasn't KD. They were contemporaries, and Westbrook had a very strong personality. And at times you could squint and who's better. That's LeBron is he's the guy challenging Jordan. There's a guy challenging LeBron right now, which puts extra emphasis on what's going on, and that's KD.
Right.
Yeah.
KD is crewed up. KD's never won. KD's never won a title when he hasn't had basically an unfair advantage.
Right.
It looks like he has one again. Now LeBron has just enough where we can look at both of these guys and say, no excuses. Whose league is it?
That's a fair argument about LeBron, Max, if we're talking about the finals has arrived, and now it's Brooklyn versus L.A. I'm saying before you get to that, just coming into the season, there is no question that there is more pressure on Russell Westbrook than it is on LeBron James. That's how I view it. That's how I view it.
Westbrook, a lot of times in the first half, because he has a certain way of playing, it takes the team and him time to get used to each other. But the second half, Westbrook's always balling. Think about Houston. Think about Washington.
Nobody said
always second half. Oh my God, look at this guy.
Nobody said he isn't balling. What we're talking about are final results. When you are the point guard, you're not just responsible for how you play. You're responsible for how the team plays. Now, if you're a scorer, you're a big man, something like that, it's on you. But when you're the point guard.
Is there
okay, hold on. Final results. So right now, who would you be taking? Are you taking the Nets or the Lakers?
Nets at this moment.
I would take the Nets.
But I don't think the Lakers are done. I think there are veterans. Like, let's keep an eye on Kevin Love. Let's keep an eye on Buddy Hield. Let's keep an eye on shooters and vets who might take the minimum, not that those guys would, who want to join a team like that.
Max is right.
You know, they have to play with shooters.
Max is right.
You're both taking the Nets, even with Russell Westbrook.
Here's a more direct statement. With Russell Westbrook, LeBron James, and Anthony Davis, the Lakers' total squad, as presently constructed, would not beat a healthy Brooklyn Nets.
Probably not. Not at the moment. But I don't think they're done. I don't think they're done. The Nets just added 5 draft picks. Give the Lakers a minute to see what they do.
Again, of course, that's a given. But like I've religiously stated on this show, Kyrie shot 92% from the free throw line last year. James Harden shot 86%. Kevin Durant was around 87, 88%. Religiously, they're 85 or better. LeBron James shot 69% from the free throw line last season and has been struggling the last 3 years from the free throw line. And over the last 2 years, specifically this past season, Russell Westbrook shot 65% from the free throw line. Playoff basketball, the game slows, okay? The open court opportunities aren't there the way they are during the regular season. And when you get into a half-court set, which LeBron is an absolute master at, but then you go to the free throw line, let me assure you, there is no way in hell the Lakers will shoot better from the free throw line than the Brooklyn Nets. And that matters. Even though the Lakers might get to the line more because they're bigger and they'll attack the basket more.
The difference is this. The Lakers have, of the big three, the Lakers have better raw athletes, size, strength. The Nets have more skilled more skilled players scoring the ball. At his size, Kyrie Irving scoring the ball, you can argue, is the best who ever did it. Same thing with Harden, same thing with KD. So you have 3 of the GOATs scoring the basketball at their size, history of the game. That is tough to beat. The Lakers' athletic ability, size, defense, and kind of basketball IQ, all that stuff that they have probably isn't enough if they're both healthy. But no other team is going to stand in those teams' way. That series is going games, and I need to see what else the Lakers do. Because, Stephen A., if they plug in 2 knockdown shooters on this team to go with those 3, who knows?
One more thing before we move on. How much more longevity does this give LeBron James when we're talking about time to win championships?
Well, I'm not thinking about it from that standpoint, Molly. I'm thinking that both teams, Brooklyn and L.A., have 2 years. Now, don't mind you. All 3.
Why Brooklyn?
All 3. Well, I'm just saying 2 years to show what they're going to do. In other words,
I thought you meant championship window.
I think the league is on the come up, and I think that if you don't, to me, if you don't win a title within the next 2 years, you ain't going to do it. As presently constructed.
There's one more team.
That's how I view both teams.
Okay.
Both teams.
There's one more team that we have to keep our eye on who could throw a monkey wrench, and that's the Warriors, because they have Clay coming back with Steph. They have Dre. And they have so much other stuff. Like they've been shopping it. They've been trying to do something, haven't been able to do it. But Wiseman, Wiggins, multiple lottery picks that they wound up using, Poole, they have a lot of stuff. So we got to keep our eye on them. But barring some big move by the Warriors, it's just the Lakers.
I don't know how many times I've had to say on this show, I mean, you ain't going to find a bigger Klay Thompson fan than me. And if Klay Thompson is healthy and Steph Curry is healthy, the Warriors are going to the conference finals.
Conference finals, but it ends there if they don't make a move.
A minimum. That's how I view the Golden State Warriors. That's how significant I think Klay Thompson, a healthy Klay Thompson, is to that.
Instead of always the facilitator. And so, running that break, you have LeBron on the wing instead of with the ball a lot of times now. That's going to be a difficult situation for a lot of teams to handle.
I feel you on that, Kenny. It's always good to see you, my brother. You know that. I feel you. I feel you on that. Here's where my reservation lies as it pertains to winning a championship, because I definitely think they'll be the Final Four in the NBA, but winning a championship. Couple of things. Number one, that pace of play you just alluded to. LeBron James is phenomenal of a conditioned athlete as he is. He's no young spring chicken any longer. And so that pace of play, that's not necessarily a guarantee in my estimation. That's number one. And number two, their perimeter shooting, because we all know that when you talk about beating a Golden State, when you talk about beating the Clippers, when you're talking about beating the Nets potentially in an NBA Finals, you got to be able to shoot the rock, not just from the perimeter, but from the free throw line. And as I pointed out early in the show, LeBron James shot 69% from the free throw line last year. Russell Westbrook shot 65%. Kyrie was at 92. James Harden's at 86. KD was at around 87, 88. Those things matter. What do you say to that?
I'd say the one thing that, for perimeter shooting, I thought I was a good shooter until I got to Houston. I became a great shooter because, you go to Houston and you get an extra second because they're double teaming great players. And so when you're playing with a guy like LeBron and Russell and AD, if you're a good shooter, you become great because now you're going to be left open. It was the first time in my life, Steven and guys, that I was left open. So there are certain guys who probably had never been left open that long that will have, opportunities. If you think of guys like PJ Tucker when he was in Houston and even this year, they get shots and they get an extra second to think about it and to really set their feet. So that actually makes you a better shooter playing with those guys who are maybe a marginal guy who comes in and say he can knock down shots. Then all of a sudden he comes there, they say, man, he's a prolific three-point shooter. It's because you got extra time.
Kenny, let's say they get 2 pure shooters to round out the starting 5, right? Because they still got the sign and trade rights for Schroder, and they have Talen Horton-Tucker. They have some stuff that may not work on this team, but other teams might be interested in. I look at the Nets. The difference is offensively, all 3 of their big 3 are, for their size, among the greatest scorers ever from anywhere, right? That's not the Lakers. But if the Lakers round out the starting 5 with a couple of pure shooters, is that enough, or does the shooting need to be distributed better among the guys who are going to touch the ball as the most, like Westbrook and LeBron and AD? Does that give the Nets an advantage if they should meet in the finals?
Are we already negating the fact that the Milwaukee Bucks won the
Yeah, because they only won because the Nets got hurt. Come on, Kenny.
Think that they're going to be back anywhere? I just feel that, there's a lot of things that you could say in terms of talent. If you look on paper, those 2 teams have, some talent, but they're most talented roster assembled. However, like we said, they're not in there. This is not Russell Westbrook 8 years ago. This is not LeBron 8 years ago. This is not, even pre-injury for Kevin Durant. Like, if Kevin Durant is in the Olympics 5 years ago, they don't lose a game. Like, he could take over all of those games. So this is not the same kind of guys. And, youthfulness, energy, playing together, that means something. So I wouldn't just hand those 2 teams, the East and the West, at all. I think that they're going to have to work for it. They have to stay injury free. They're going to be playing saving him for this game, and that gets you out of rhythm. And I thought that got the Lakers out of rhythm this year, and we'll see if it doesn't do it this next year.
Russell Westbrook, Kenny Smith, 4th team in 4 years. Teammates: Kevin Durant, Reggie Jackson, Serge Ibaka, Victor Oladipo, Paul George, James Harden again, Bradley Beal. No championship to show for it. And now has got LeBron James and Anthony Davis as his teammate. At the start of this show, I talked about how, because he's so phenomenal and because he's a surefire first ballot future Hall of Famer, all of those things taken into consideration, he will never be under more pressure than he will be this year. He won't care, but that's the situation. Am I right or wrong about that?
Well, I don't think not having a championship dampens your legacy, but it definitely adds to it. Like, it definitely adds to it. The reason I'm on TNT and sitting here with you at ESPN right now is because I won 2 championships. I have a perspective that's going to be different and that has a finality to it. So, yes, winning a championship for Russell Westbrook, does it help his career? Yes. Does it dampen it if he doesn't? No, he's done enough.